What I'm here to tell you today is that your first non-engineering hire at a very early stage startup should be for customer success. That's the whole point. So if you're hungry, you can go get in line right now. Your first non-engineering, your first non-technical hire at a very early stage startup should be for customer success. So a little bit of background. My name's Klein. I'm the head of customer success at DocSend. And DocSend is a way for you to have control and analytics for the documents that you send. Right now, we actually live in kind of the cradle of really easy collaboration around documents, things like Google Docs, where you can type with someone else in the same document. And really easy sharing using tools like Dropbox and Box. And so what DocSend is providing is kind of that next step in understanding when people are accessing your documents and seeing things like dwell time per page. This is really important to people in sales, marketing, commercial real estate agents, recruiters, people who, when it comes to conversion in their mind, it has a lot to do with the document. If you think back to the web 15, 20 years ago, we had as much as GeoCities hit counters where you could see how many people were coming to visit your site, right? Now fast forward 15, 20 years, we have things like Google Analytics and Mixpanel, so we can optimize every little thing, see each person who's coming to our websites, how long they're staying on which pages, all for the sake of optimizing conversion. And so we're bringing that concept into the world of documents. A little bit of background, I was previously at a different enterprise software company called Crowdflower, and before that at Cisco, and I made my way to California by way of Argentina and University of Michigan and Caterpillar, where I was building transmissions the size of minivans. So recently I was at a go-to-market boot camp that was put on by Andreessen Horowitz, VC in the community. And Mark Craney got up on stage. He is a legend in sales and customer success. And one of the first things out of his mouth was, teams wait too long to implement customer success. And when you think about customer success as the connective tissue in a company, and Anurag actually mentioned this in his talk as one of his key takeaways, right? Getting the customer success organization really in close touch with engineering. It's even more important at early stage, very early stage companies. Just to give you guys some context, DocSend, we're 6 people. And I'm telling you a little bit about my own experience there and at Crowdflower, where we built our account management practice. So typically what you'll see at a very early stage company, what you want to optimize for is listening and learning and empathy for your users. You're at a stage of your company where you may not yet know exactly the direction that you're heading in. We're starting right now with a freemium model, but in 6 or 12 months that might turn into trial-based, or you might have to pay on the way in. Typically what you'll see is people are founders or kind of early employees at companies, are very early stage companies, are hiring to solve a specific pain point. Maybe you have a free version and you have a lot of support issues. So you might hire somebody specifically focused on support, kind of that one narrow mindset, right? Or an office manager, because there's a lot of administrative tasks that are just really bogging down the founders and maybe the CEO. And on the other side, maybe there's some board pressure to really get out to market and hire somebody in sales, business development, or marketing. And what I'd say is, instead of hiring all those folks, you should hire somebody focused on the entire user and customer journey. Somebody who can see the forest for the trees, and rather than identifying and addressing one specific pain point that you have at that moment, you should hire somebody who can sort of be that connective tissue and start growing the company with that culture of customer success. So I want to introduce some new language, a new way of sort of talking about this role. And customer success looks very different at a company like Crowdflower or at Cisco or at High5, where it's a little bit more mature, right? I'm talking specifically about very early stage startups, your first hire, your first non-engineering hire. And you'll hear people saying, oh, at startups, everybody's wearing lots of hats, right? So I don't want to talk about this person as a hat maker, right? They're not wearing lots of hats. I don't want to talk about them as a jack of all trades. because the second half of that phrase is jack of all trades, master of none, right? I actually want to, the language that I've been using, I think a better kind of metaphor is the Olympic decathlete, right? And they're kind of rare. There aren't a lot of folks out there competing in all 10 events. There are not a lot of Olympic level athletes, but this is what that person needs to be able to do. They need to be able to do everything. They're part support person. They're part therapist. They're part salesperson, product marketer. A lot of times what you'll see at early stage companies when the team is really focused on building something and getting feedback and building something else and getting more feedback and really iterating and finding its core value proposition is you need to optimize for listening and learning so that the engineering organization, the design organization, the people building and designing the product have a real conduit, a real channel, a real ear on the ground listening to users. And this is not meant to be comprehensive in the least. This is just sort of a snapshot of some of the things that this first person might need to be doing. Training and onboarding. The last two here sort of depend on your type of company. At Crowdflower, we were a much higher ticket product. It was enterprise sale. It was on the order of magnitude, tens of thousands of dollars per year. So the economics worked out such that we could afford to have white glove account management, on-site training, full days, paid for, teams are there. DocSend, on the other hand, right now we're going freemium, order of magnitude of the tens of dollars per person per month. And that means that we have to think about things from a more systematic approach. How do we scale customer success? How do we scale that feedback loop in a way where we don't just have to throw bodies at it? So when you have one person, right, and at DocSend, that's just me. When you have one person who is creating this culture of customer success and needing to do all these different things, I know it's sort of self-serving. I called myself an Olympic decathlete. Here's just a snapshot of some of the different things, some of the context switching that might need to happen. And that could go, just to give you guys some examples, some in-app messages. And maybe that's kind of a Band-Aid before you have a whole product walkthrough built into your product itself. Maybe it's something that will unfold more advanced features that aren't worth sharing in that new user experience, but you don't want to take away engineering resources from other large-scale projects that you have going on. Lifecycle emails. This is about getting feedback in a more systematic, scalable way. Things like sending that retention or re-engagement email 60 days, after 60 days if they haven't come back. And just asking them, hey, is there something we could have done better? Is there something preventing you from using us? Really getting at that core need and that value so that you can build the right thing for them. Support, customer development, product feedback. I'll actually share, tactically some of the tools that we use. And none of these folks are paying me to endorse them. And there are tons of products that actually do the same things that these companies do. But the reason that I'm putting them up here is because we actually use these in a way such that we can scale ourselves. And we can appear to be much larger of a company than we actually are. We have a massive group of users, and we have a growing number of customers every day. And the reason that we're all interested in the SaaS business is because we can grow and scale so quickly. And so these are some of the tools that we're using. I want to highlight a couple here because they're so important in collecting that product feedback and sharing that product feedback, right? It's all about empathy and listening to our customers so that we can build that into our product development cycle and keep everyone's ear to the ground. So we'll use Asana to collect everything and kind of house it and tag it next to different sort of feature requests or product ideas and really rank order them according to feedback. Right? But you can't always just build a faster horse for someone, especially when you're early stage. Sometimes you have to tell people, you need a car. But it's really great because what this allows us to do is when we do build something that our users and customers have asked for, we now have a list of folks who we can actually let them know. Instead of just blasting everyone, we can specifically email users like, hey, you requested this and now we've got it. Thank you, genuinely, for all the feedback. we use Slack internally to communicate. Wonderful product, but the key point is, and Mikkel mentioned this, if you were in the keynote this morning, CEO of Zendesk, that they do this anytime they get a bad customer satisfaction score. We do, what I share with the entire team via Slack is that anytime we get a response from one of our churned emails. So an email would go out if somebody hasn't used DocSend in 30 or 60 days, and it's really brief, and it just says, hey, is there something preventing you from using DocSend? We'd love to hear your feedback. And so anytime somebody responds to that, we share it with the entire company. We use ChartMogul to track metrics, and for internal alignment, we actually meet every 2 weeks. And we share customer confusions, alarming feedback, and also, really importantly, customer love, things that people are really effusive and emotive about using DocSend, because it's all about kind of keeping everyone connected to the customer. If you have any questions, find me at lunch, find me after the fact. I'd love to talk a little bit more tactically about how you guys can implement some of this stuff at your startups. Thank you.